Right, so today is Friday, 17th of October 2014. At midnight last night, um, my fourth ceremony of ayahuasca began. Um, it ended this morning around 7 a.m. and it's now 7:40 p.m. So it's over 12 hours since it finished. This time it took place with different people, not the same as for the first three ceremonies. And it was with a taita, which is another word for a shaman. There are many words for that, as there are many words for ayahuasca. Um, and this guy was from Colombia. Apparently, he's got a bit of a reputation. He's been doing it for 15 years. He he did it for the first time, according to him, anyway. When he was 9 with his grandfather, and then he started working with his uncles and all that. And so he's been doing what he's doing for 15 years, and he's travelled the world um, doing ayahuasca ceremonies. Now, he doesn't call it ayahuasca, he calls it yaje, which is spelt Yage. And so, anyway, so it was very different. Much more ceremony in this one than my previous ceremonies. And at the same time, it felt less organized, which is strange. Um, so there's three so-called cleansings that take place. Um, so at first, he's sitting behind this table. I'll post photos of this, and it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. And he's got these, I don't know what they are, if they're tobacco leaves or something, and he shakes them, and he's playing the harmonica at the same time, and moving his feet, and he's just trying to, I guess he's cleansing the ayahuasca, which is in this gallon-sized plastic bottle. And when I saw this bottle, I thought, wow, that's never going to be enough for all of us, because what I'd seen in previous ceremonies were lots and lots of these liter bottles, and we went through quite a lot. I mean, we went through 5 or 6. Um, Now, this stuff was much more concentrated. And he told us this, he said this is, before we started, he said this stuff is more concentrated than what other people generally use. And it really was. Because I reckon the dose we were given was about 1/3 of what I'd received on other ceremonies. And it was as strong. You can taste the taste. Just thinking about it's really difficult. The taste was very strong, but it's much smaller quantity, so it's easier to just gulp it down, and it's easier in a way, even though the aftertaste is really difficult for me. And I had to really convince myself to not think about it before taking it, and to just say, no, it's going to be fine, it's going to taste good, I'm going to take, because last ceremony 3, it took me 1 hour to take the second dose. So 1 hour to drink a few centiliters. That's pushing it, and I didn't want that to happen again. So, what can I say about this ceremony? I'll try and keep this kind of short. I got a reminder, which is really nice, of how important your perception is. I went, there was a lot of grass and there was a few trees around this place, and I was walking there at night because at one point I got up, I thought, right, that's it, I'm going to throw up soon. I'd had my 2 doses, I'm going to throw up, and I went walking around, kind of knowing that I would find the right spot and the right time to throw up. I just knew, it would work out somehow. And that's something that happens when you're under ayahuasca. It's like you kind of know that things are going to work out, and you start getting these weird coincidences. Now, of course, they could be merely coincidence, and I guess reasonably they probably are. But it is really strange that, you know, just at the moment that before the ceremony starts, actually, I'm talking with this Taita shaman guy about um, um, getting seeds and sowing seeds of ayahuasca, and just at the same time, I'm receiving an email from this online store where I'd registered an alert um, because their items were out of stock, and the items in question were ayahuasca seeds. And I received the email at the same time, like maybe 1 or 2 minutes interval, I don't know, but almost exactly the same time, telling me, "Oh, these seeds, these ayahuasca seeds, are back in stock," and here I am talking to a shaman about it. Uh, now, I don't know. I find that strange. And there are things during the ceremony that happen. I don't know. Like at one moment, I remember there was a fire because we were all initially around this fire, and so I was in a quite a heavy phase, very pleasant, but and then there was this big burst of light, and it was actually the fire that just, I don't know, suddenly, just for like a few seconds, just got very, very tall, and then this burst of light, and it just seemed to happen at such a perfect moment in my experience, in what I was experiencing then. I can't really remember what it was. I just remember that thing was like, it's like, wow, that what amazing timing, and things like that have happened to me various times in ayahuasca ceremonies, like going through very, very intense moments, and just at that time, the person who's singing a nicaro and playing some instrument or something, it gets louder and louder, and just as they stop, it's just when I stop throwing up and everything starts getting peaceful and nice, and that's exactly the moment when they stop. Things like that. But yeah, reasonably, I've got to say that they just have to be coincidence. There's no other really. I can't see any other explanation for it. But it just seems to be really strange, and it just seems to fit very well. And I would link that in real life to seizing opportunities instead of being passive and saying, "Oh, life is happening to me." Being what really is intelligent, really, which is adapting to the situation and making the most of an opportunity, and say, "Oh, this could work," and going for it, and um, yeah, seizing the day, really, seizing the opportunity, the moments. Um, anyway, what else? So yeah, I was walking around looking at these trees, and they were the most. Some of these trees were just amazing. There was this little fella, kind of very bushy, that looked kind of hostile, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, wow, you look kind of hostile," and I touched him just because I had to prove to myself in a way I wasn't afraid of him, and because one of the things that I'm, maybe too conscious about is that during the experience, I don't want to accept any fear. Now, this is something that in life over the past few months I've found has affected me, that I seem to be less afraid, much less afraid, much more confident that things are going to work out. That even if things get extremely difficult, that things will work out. That I will get by. Um, and I know that in an experience, sooner or later, I'm going to run into a situation where something's going to be terrifying. And I'm a bit disappointed in a way that I haven't run into that, but I guess it's simply that I wasn't ready for it. And so whenever there's something fearful or that could seem scary, then I just dissolve it by saying, no, I'm not going to give in to you. I'm not going to, I'm not going to play that game with you. I'm not going to be afraid of you. And just letting any sort of fear go away as if it were some sort of joke. When you start seeing these, I don't know, scary figures or something in your visions. And yeah. Anyway, and there was this other tree that was absolutely amazing, and at the time I thought, and I think I said to her, I said, "Wow, you are the most amazing tree I've ever seen in my life." And because you get this sense when you're in there, you get this sense that this is really a being, and it is. I mean, it is technically, it is absolutely a being. And because these plants have way more genes than us, like 3 times the amount of genes that humans have, it means that they're way more evolved. We think that we're the top, um, the top of the evolution thing, and that we're the most evolved creatures on this planet. Well, we're not. Plants are more evolved than us, and they've been around for so much longer than us that it makes perfect sense. And they're so freaking, they're so much smarter. I mean, they've got chemical means of communication between themselves. They warn each other on things that are happening in the environment. They they make their own food from sunlight. I mean, they can do so much more than we can, and they somehow do this, the ultimate sacrifice of, in a way, accepting to feed, other all life forms on the planet. Because even if you're only eating meat, that beast that you're eating, somewhere down the chain there was something eating plants. So we're all eating plants, and yeah, plants do run the show. This is not something that I'm making. I'm saying I've heard it. I'm just repeating it, but I do think this is true. Plants are running the show on this planet. They they kind of rule the world, and there is, whatever divinity means. I have no idea what the word means, but um, my gut feeling is that there's something. If there is such a thing as divinity, then it's present in plants. Um, Maybe it's present in lots of things. I don't know, but there's there's something incredibly powerful about plants, and we completely underestimate it simply because we cannot communicate with them. We do not understand their means of communication. We can't hear them talk. We can't see their expressions. We can't, But I wouldn't be surprised if plants had a higher consciousness than we did, or had complex emotions. It's just that we're too thick to see that. Or at least we have been so far in the West. What else? So what else can I say? So yeah, I was just trying to have these visions. I think I was just trying to have visions, and I think I kind of had them. They felt kind of transparent and not in your face, not dazzling or anything like that. But it was I had my eyes closed, but it was as if I was seeing these images, these forms, things, constantly changing. Um, but they weren't symmetrical. They weren't. I don't have the memory that they were particularly colourful. They were nothing like the sort of drawings or paintings that you see in videos when you're looking around for ayahuasca or in articles. Um, and so I came to the conclusion that these visions that I was having were just complete artifacts, constructs of my mind, of me trying to have visions, and that they were kind of artificial, and they could go away when I stopped trying to have them, and they were just distractions to me. That's what came out of it, is that they were distractions, and what also came out of it was that my whole reality, this is something that I'm tending to believe consciously, is that my whole reality is just a construct of my imagination or my perception. Um, it's all, my reality completely depends on me in a way. It doesn't, that's not actually true. It doesn't completely depend on me, but in a way it does, in a way, well, my perception completely depends on me, that's for sure. And so, yeah, in a way, my reality does as well. And so, lesson from that is stop messing around, get things done, stop finding distractions for yourself. That's it. Stop finding or creating distractions from what really matters. Get things done. Stop fiffing and faffing about. Stop fretting about. And then one interesting thing, when I was walking around looking at these trees, knowing that I was going to find something, I came to this, I saw this beautiful, amazing tree, I saw the hostile tree, I saw these weird trees, other trees that left me indifferent, and I came to this tree that seemed complex in a way, that seemed complicated. It had small trunks, but going in like at least 4 different directions. It seemed pointlessly complicated for a tree, to be spreading out, and the result is it didn't get very high, and all of its leaves seemed to be eaten by, I don't know, it didn't seem healthy. That tree looked like a bit of a wreck, and I looked at it and I had the feeling that tree was me, that it was unnecessarily complicated, going in all sorts of directions, unfocused and unhealthy, not taking care of itself. And that's true. I don't look good. I'm overweight. I'm not fit. I have no muscles. And I don't want to look like that tree, but I do, and that's something I need to change. So anyway, after I don't know how long, 10, 15 minutes, maybe more. I don't know, walking around, maybe less. It's hard to tell. You lose the notion of time. I ended up throwing up my 2 doses of ayahuasca and whatever water I'd had. Later on, a little bit of diarrhea, but almost nothing. Mostly after the ceremony, actually, that was, yeah. And once I threw up, well, as previously, when I was going to throw up, I could feel the vibration increasing in my forearms and in my hands, and you can feel it, and you just know, and that culminates when you throw up, and just as you're throwing up the most intensely at the very end, that you're just coughing up every last drop you've got, that's when it gets the most intense. And it wasn't as intense as it had been in for example, I think the second ceremony or the first one, I can't remember, where I had this very, very intense vibration in my hands and forearms, incredible. It wasn't that intense, but it was quite intense. And after that, I knew probably I would feel good. Now, we didn't have mapacho, the organic black tobacco. We didn't have any of that smoke. That comes from Peru. And the Taita, the shaman, was from Colombia, so we didn't have any of that. And normally after I've thrown up, what I do is, as you're entering that very relaxing phase, and that's when some people kind of enter the experience at that point, I usually smoke at least half a mapacho cigarette, and because it's got 20 times the amount of nicotine in it, it makes you euphoric. Now, if you smoke half the cigarette, it makes you euphoric. If you smoke more, it gives you nausea. Now, nausea can help in some cases, I think, because there comes a point when especially if you've had 2 doses and you're not throwing up, you kind of need to throw up, really. I mean, 2 doses, you're very nauseous. You kind of need to get it out of you. And I think if you keep it in you, you can stay nauseous for a very, very long time. I don't know. I've heard people stay nauseous for 24 hours. Now, I wouldn't want that. I really dislike nausea, and I usually feel so good after throwing up the ayahuasca that I wouldn't want to miss out on that. So maybe an advice. I don't know if I'm if I should be giving advice, but. If you smoke, if you're nauseous but not quite enough, you smoke 1 or maybe 2 of these mapacho cigarettes, and then you're going to get so nauseous because of the incredibly high level of nicotine that'll help you to push you over the edge. And so anyway, I didn't have that, but I started feeling really good. I got into my sleeping bag. I had this little mattress. and I got into my sleeping bag and under my blanket. It was kind of cold outside, but it was pretty cold, but I was so warm and comfortable in this. It was great. It was a great feeling. And Chito, one of the organizers, comes over to me in the, not long after this thing has started, and he says, "Do you want a third dose?" And I said, "Well, I'm in a really nice place right now, and I don't want to interrupt it." And I knew as I was saying that I was kind of aiming at him as well. And he understood that right away. He said, "All right, I won't interrupt you any further," and he gave me a thumbs up. But he's a very cool guy from Machito. I really love that guy. He seems lovely. Um, I'd seen him at the peyote ceremony. That's how I met him. That's how actually I got into this ayahuasca ceremony from that. And yeah, he seems like a really really nice guy. I don't know, just I enjoy hugging him. And there's not many people especially strangers that I enjoy hugging. But really, I don't know. And so yeah, he left me, and then I think that lasted for hours. There, I was in a nice place, great feelings, not knowing, not feeling that I was getting any intense teachings, other than, your reality is your own construct, and you are getting distracted by all sorts of shit, and it's nonsense, and that's what's preventing you from going further and maybe increasing the level of your consciousness or something. But that's what's preventing you from learning, and it's also preventing you from doing. And I think that's one of the main lessons. And the thing with the tree there, seeing this sort of decrepit tree, and getting a feeling that that tree's me, means, yeah, it's time to stop messing around also with that, get back to exercise and sport, which I'd stopped doing for the past few weeks as I was in Europe, and I was drinking again, and I've got to stop all that, get fit, and I want to have a good, good healthy fit body that actually looks good and that I'm proud of. Otherwise, what else? I'm probably forgetting things here. Oh yeah, my friend Tayo came with me. He was hesitating because he didn't have the money. I said, "Look, come and I will lend you the money." And he came and he thanked me a couple of times this morning for bringing him over. I'm glad he went. I think he had a level of ecstasy at some point, as he was sitting by the fire in the middle of the night, and he actually got really hot at one point. He was the only person like that because it was freaking freezing. I mean, it was cold, and he took off all of his jumpers and his t-shirt. Now, apparently that's something he does when he's drunk as well. Anyway, he got too hot, and he was the only one like that. Everybody else was just wrapped in coats and sleeping bags and woolly hats and everything. And he was there for quite a long time around the fire without anything on his back. But anyway, I remember seeing him shortly after taking the first dose, and he seemed to be in a state of ecstasy. He had this big smile on his face. He was, and I looked at him and I could not recognize him. I knew it was him because I knew that was the spot where he was sitting, and the fuzzy dark hair and everything fitted. It fitted the description, but I could not recognize him. He just seemed like a different being at that moment. It was weird. It was really weird. What else? Well, there were some other interesting things, but this video is getting too long, so I'll make that into another part. And yeah, that's it for now.